You are listening to the Giversize Shorts podcast, bringing you the best inspirational fitness, health, and lifestyle short stories told from the hearts of extraordinary people with life-changing stories.
Welcome to episode 2 of Giversize Shorts, the Christian inspirational fitness, health, and lifestyle storytelling podcast. I am your host, Ashley Ward. If you haven't already, then please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. For more information on this episode and to view show notes, visit us at www.giversizeshorts.com. Our inspirational verse of the day is from Proverbs chapter 3, verse 8 of the King James Bible Version. It shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones. Now it's story time. In this episode, our storyteller is Donny Pitts. Donny Pitts gives God glory for the inspiration for his first book. The Lamb and the Dragon is the culmination of 18 years of inspired creative talent. Donny was born in Doerun, Georgia in 1951 into a family of 9. Along with his 3 brothers and 3 sisters, he grew up in an old house with only 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. Donny has obtained numerous degrees and is also an ordained minister at multiple churches. He has been married to his wife Christal for 10 years and is currently serving as assistant to the children's church pastor at LifeSpring Community Church. He has also served for 4 years as a missionary in Honduras, Central America. Get ready to listen to Donny Pitts.
Hello, my name is Donny Pitts. I live in Moultrie, Georgia. I hope after the listeners hear my story, my testimony, that it will help someone in some way. That's my prayer. So here we go. During the 60s and 70s, up through the mid-80s, I was a musician in musical groups ranging from rock to blues to country. Those were some pretty wild and rough times. I know God was not proud of me, but he saw me through all that because he had something better planned for me. So anyway, let's jump in the Wayback Machine and go all the way back to January of 1986. That day that my world literally turned upside down. I was working for a major retail chain in Fayetteville, Georgia, just south of Atlanta. I was an assistant manager. And on this particular day, I decided I would take a quick break and watch some TV with some of my workers, who were mostly ladies. My part of the store was mainly in housewares and health and beauty aids, so my section of the store had about 99% ladies, and they enjoyed my watching days of our lives with them. So every day at the same time, we would go to the break room, watch a little TV together, and that was just the way that I was trying to get along with my coworkers. I grabbed a candy bar off the shelf on the way to the break room. Well, in a few minutes, the best way I know how to describe what was happening is my world literally turned upside down. I began vomiting violently. I could not walk nor stand. My hearing began to fluctuate. I didn't have a clue what was going on inside of me. But at the time, I thought I was having probably the worst case of food poisoning since the dawn of creation. It was terrible. Someone had to drive me home. For the rest of the day and that night, I was just violently ill, and I could barely hear. I was able to call the store the next evening and get someone to pull the candy bars off the shelf, Snickers, I believe it was, thinking they were tainted. However, what was really going on inside my body was not food poisoning, but it would be 10 years later before I would find out. And what happened to me that day would not happen again until 1996. So in 1995, after I got saved again for the first time, you know what I mean by that, I began to take an interest in spiritual warfare and thought I might want to write a book. And at that time also, I had given up the colleges and the nightclubs and joined my church's praise team, along with my two brothers. They're still on the praise team. However, I had to step down about 5 or 6 years ago, but more on that in a few minutes. So anyway, I wanted to write a book on spiritual warfare, but I wanted my book to read like a novel and not just another how-to book, how to do spiritual warfare, what spiritual warfare is, why I do it, when to do it. There's enough of those kinds of books out there. So I began praying, and as I thought I was hearing from God, I would take notes. So in late 1995, I had a composition book full of notes. And so I began writing my first novel, The Lamb and the Dragon. Early in 1996, while returning home from a trip, this friend of mine had taken some young boys to a fun world in Albany. About halfway home, I had another severe attack of vertigo, vomiting, and hearing loss. So I thank God that I had my friend with me who could drive the rest of the way, get the little guys home, and get me to my house for the rest of that day. And that night, I was just sick beyond description. My episode was worse than the one that had happened 10 years earlier. And at that point, the vertigo, the hearing fluctuation episodes, they were more severe, more intense, and were more frequently. And I literally could not function. After seeing 6 doctors or so by mid-1996, I was diagnosed with Meniere's disease, which is an inner ear disorder that affects balance and hearing. So every day for many years, all I could do was lay in the bathroom floor until it was over, and then crawl to bed, sleep it off, only to have it happen again the next day, day after day after day. I was just so sick, and to add to all my frustration, I could no longer write. So right after beginning my first novel, I had to stop. And by 2008, I literally became unhireable. And by 2009, I filed for early Social Security. In 2010, I had a major operation done inside my left ear and had to resign from the praise team. As you might guess, bad hearing is rather lethal in the music business. So in 2011, on the recommendation from my doctors, I filed for disability. And so far I've been turned down. In 2013, I began to get well enough to finish writing my novel. So my first book was 18 years in the making, 18 years from start to finish. It was published in January of 2014 and has been very successful so far. I am now working on the sequel, which should be published early this year, February, March possibly. So after a lot of praying, a lot of soul searching about why this is happening to me, I just have to remember the bottom line. God knows, and I don't know. And so through a lot of what I call the 3 P's, prayer, pursuit, and perseverance, I was able to finish my book. And that was the only way I could do it, just by the grace of God. There's no cure for my disorder, but there are things, that I can do to help with the symptoms. Surgery, shots inside the ear, hooking myself up to a machine and letting it pump air pressure inside my ears, medication. I've done them all. And so at this point, I just take it a day at a time, and I'm thankful every day for what God gives me for that day. I have a bachelor's degree in education. I have a master's in theology and a couple of more degrees. I'm an ordained minister in several churches. My wife, Christal, and I are members of LifeSpring Community Church here in Moultrie. I am assistant to the children's church pastor, and my wife and I teach the 4th and 5th grades in our children's church on Wednesdays and Sundays. So that's it. I just hope that when the listeners hear this story, this testimony, that it will help someone in some way. No matter where we are in life, no matter what we're going through, if we'll just pursue, pray, and persevere, we can see our dreams come true. Thank you.
Let's thank our wonderful storyteller, Donny Pitts. If you enjoyed this episode and are interested in sharing your story on this podcast, then please visit us at www.giversizeshorts.com. You have the option of submitting your story to us by using the SpeakPipe voice recorder we have embedded directly on our website. It's fast, easy, and convenient. Now that's just one of many options. Visit our website for more details on how to submit your audio story to us today. That's GIVERCISE shorts.com. I also like to thank RadioGuestList.com for helping us secure amazing storytellers and other guests for this podcast. RadioGuestList.com was absolutely free to us. Until next time, inspire.
Thanks for tuning in to the Giversize Shorts podcast, your source for the best inspirational fitness, health, and lifestyle short stories. Please join us again next time for a story-filled experience.